Hello, everyone. It's another episode of Masks Off. I'm Tia.
And I'm Kim.
And today we are going to talk about the golden child mask. So I don't know if that resonates immediately with any of you listening, but it definitely resonates with Kim for sure. And even though I'm an only child, I can see how parts of this shows up in my life, even though I didn't have siblings to compete with. So the quote we have is from Alexander Burgemeester. These children, meaning the golden children, these children don't just want to satisfy their parents. They feel obligated and responsible for doing so. It becomes a significant part of their identity. So, golden child Kim.
Oh my
what
goodness.
Would you like to share about this mask that you're so familiar with?
Oh my gosh. I just had to say, look how many freaking masks I have. I just learned recently that I have the bully mask too underneath. Oh geez, no, just teasing. Let's see. Golden child mask. I'm oldest child. So I think sometimes you can see that pattern. Older child is often the golden child. Mm-hmm. But, I've shared many times before that up until I was 9, that I was in school, at least just an average student. Right. And I was quiet. I was complacent. I never would consider giving the teacher a hard time or speaking up and disrupting the class. Like I was just really well behaved, I guess, and air quotes, well behaved. And then, when I had that teacher in 5th grade tell my mom that I was capable of so much more. And then, it's like, ding, 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 ding. Like, I heard this light bulb went on. It was like, oh, okay. So then I started to apply myself more and I started to get the good grades and I would bring the report card home. And I can remember the first time I brought it home, how elated my mother was. Like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And then my aunt, who I was very close with, she didn't have any children. So she was like a second mom. And, I think I shared too, she would give me, like $5 for every A or something. Mm-hmm. So she was so excited. Oh, Kimmy, oh my God, it's so great. So then I started to do well in school, but then that wasn't enough. I had started doing well as an athlete because I was athletic. So I started to play sports. And then, it was like, coming to my softball games. And if I was the golden child. Oh, Kim, she hit the winning run, or in soccer, blah, blah, blah. When I was in 8th grade and I was 13, when it was graduation, not only like I was president of the student council and had to give the speech at graduation night. Oh, wow. Like cleaned up all these awards at graduation night. Like I can remember to this day, like the feeling of being on cloud 9 and just, being the golden child. But it was like also with that is a lot of pressure because then you're not, I think the golden child mask and the overachiever mask go very hand in hand. So then I'm overachieving, but that's a lot of pressure that I would then continue to put on myself throughout high school, get in college, and continuing to perform. Right. To
for
overachieve
externals.
For all the externals, so that I could be the golden child of the family. So while because all this dysfunction was going on with all the other family members, that at least when I did something well or something right, it gave those family members the opportunity for a moment to vicariously feel good about themselves through my achievements. And there's many downsides to this. There were
Yeah.
so many negative impacts on me to have to wear the golden child mask. And then, the reasons why my mom would do it or my dad would not, like, well, I'll put my dad aside for a moment, but my mom, would enable me to wear that mask, right? Because it did something for her. There was a payoff for her.
Wouldn't even say enable. She encouraged it.
She encouraged it for sure. So that's where it becomes like the golden child feel so that these children just want to satisfy their parents. So it wasn't even like, yes, it wasn't in terms of school and my achievements to try to satisfy my mom, but even still, I was always trying to please her to satisfy her needs or make her happy. It was like,
right.
And that was probably even from a much younger age that I felt this responsibility from a very early age, that it was my job to make my mom happy, because anytime she was angry or sad, I felt like, I don't know if I always felt that I caused it, but I felt like I had to fix it for her because I couldn't stand to see her upset.
And that's what I was going to ask you, because you started out with the academics.
Yeah.
At 5th grade.
Yep.
And how you stepped into that golden child role. But I was curious, and you actually just brought it up. It's like, it didn't just probably start there, because to step into golden child, I mean, that like starts, not typically in 5th grade, especially because it's not like that's when your younger sibling showed up when you were in 5th grade.
Right.
Because how far apart are you again?
We are 5 years apart.
Yeah. So, golden child came into play probably around that age, I would guess, or earlier.
Yeah.
But knowing that it just showed up in academics at that point, prior to that, you were already, hey, I got to make my mom happy. I got to help her out. I got to do what needs to be done, because when she's happy, it's easier to be okay.
Yeah. And to behave, right? To behave so that I didn't upset her.
Right.
Because she was upset a lot from other people upsetting her. So I didn't want to upset her. And so a lot of times I would just be out of sight, out of mind, like just remove myself from even being around her, just so that I wouldn't, get her upset, kind of thing. So there was that level of that, but it was also just like being like the really good girl. I mean, I can remember, actually, you're right. I think it was even younger than 9 or 10 when she would take me to relatives' houses. She used to take me to this one Aunt Vi's house, and I could, like, it's true when they say how some Italians definitely put the plastic on the furniture. Like my Aunt Vi had all her furniture covered in plastic. But you know what? The thing is, my mother took me to all of these relatives' homes with her because I would just sit there on the couch, not move, be totally quiet, be seen but not heard. And my mother didn't have to worry about me being like a rambunctious little child running around the house causing a problem.
And I would imagine she probably got, oh, she's so well behaved. Look at her. She's just, what an amazing kid you are. So I'm guessing you probably had that messaging.
Yeah.
Because your mom wouldn't have brought you, if likely otherwise, from what you've shared, because then she would have looked bad.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, I can't remember for sure, but I don't know if I remember my sister coming along a lot to those things. Yeah. I just remember doing those a lot with my mother. So, and these are like traditional, like conservative Italian relatives. They wouldn't have put up with that kind of behavior anyway. So I think you're right. I think for my mom, it wouldn't look good for her.
Right.
If I was running around the house or whining, like, I want to go, Mom,
when are we leaving?
When are we leaving? Can I have some more cookies?
Boring.
Yeah. Like if any of that was happening, like, yeah. So
definitely children are to be seen, but not heard.
For sure.
And you took that messaging to heart.
I did. And then it became a very big, significant part of my personality or my identity, because as the quote says, because I didn't know that there was any other way to be. I had adopted that
Right.
so early on, that mask, and I wore that mask so tightly and so well that I didn't know there was another way. I thought that's just
Yeah.
was my identity and who I was.
How would you know?
I know.
Because who knows what happened when you did misbehave at a young age. You probably got a reaction from your mother.
Yeah.
As many of us did, because so much of parenting, and it's not your mom's fault, right?
No, of course not.
Just for listeners, we're not like judging or any
100%,
of that.
No.
Because so many of us were raised in their generation of kids are supposed to behave.
Yeah.
That's why there was a lot more spanking and a lot more of that. I mean, not that still goes on today, but less so. It's less tolerated, because it was correcting behavior that was out of line. That
absolutely
made up out of line behavior when it's just most of the time kids being kids or figuring things out.
And it just is like a generational kind of thing, because
right.
And that saying of you live what you learn. Early on, I did that with my own kids. I remember saying things like, oh, Ryan's such a good sleeper.
Comparing.
Or, right, Ryan's such a good sleeper. And I can remember some of my relatives, like my aunts, when I would travel with him. Oh, he's so good. He's so easy, and like like I would take him anywhere on a plane and go down and see, relatives and whatnot. I don't think I did with Angela. Poor Angela. I'm sorry, Ange. But no, I really think like she was, from day one, she was more challenging in terms of her sleep, in terms of like everything. I think I shared before, I used to sleep. I slept on the floor in her room so she wouldn't climb out of her crib.
Right.
She just gave me more of a run for my money right from the get-go. So in that sense, Ryan was like the golden child baby, and he was older, first child, she's second child.
Yeah.
And so that's really interesting, just making those kind of statements and having the energy behind it. That's where, the generational patterns can continue. And then thankfully, I think I also have shared that when she was around 10 or 11 years old, that when she was playing soccer, or she was around other moms, and she would just be her assertive self and just say what was on her mind. And it sounded super disrespectful to me. Like she was disrespecting me, but she was, I knew she was just being Angela. I knew that was who she was. And in the beginning, this was like before I really did Dr. Shefali's work, I would want to I did cringe inside, because like, oh my God, what do they think? I can't control my kid. Judgment. But then I am so grateful to start reading Dr. Shefali and learn her work, because I let that go. I'm like, no, this is who she is. She's just being herself. I'm not going to silence her because I'm worried about other mothers judging me, or if those other moms are uncomfortable and they're like, oh, Angela's too much. She's too much. No, she's just being herself and saying what she honestly thinks and feels on the inside.
Right. And so many girls were squashed when they were too much. Right. And so we have this whole imbalance in our society of that. It's interesting. I mean, even just like the fact that so many girls were too much if they voiced something because it might offend somebody, but you allowed her to say that. And what an amazing thing, because she's just speaking her mind, and if there's a line crossing, you have a conversation around it. Like, hey, I would appreciate it if you said that differently next time, or pull me aside or whatever. But we're so worried about what other people think. And so the golden child mask, parents are like, look at my kid, and thinking it's a reflection of them. in a good way, when
I
in
know.
reality, you're actually squashing, like your voice was squashed. And like you talked about in the episode, the other one, the bully mask, the my way or the highway, learning to assert yourself more because you weren't allowed to.
Wasn't allowed
Because
to.
golden children don't assert themselves, especially girl golden children.
Yep. It's be seen and not heard. Be seen. And so, I mean, we share this particular mask in this particular episode, probably for two reasons. One, to see if you can identify if the golden child mask is still really alive and well in you, you know, now as an adult. And then secondly, if you have children, like, you know, do you do what I was doing with my kids? And, you know, or if you're going to have kids in the future, it's a good opportunity to hear this and to, you know, do your best to not impose that on your child to create that golden child mask, because it sounds like it's a good mask to wear, doesn't it? Like golden child, like, oh, I want to wear that one. That sounds like fun. That's a good mask to wear, but it's not. There's a lot of, not only that, but it was a huge setup for my sister, because I wore the golden child mask. It was a huge setup for her because she could never follow in my footsteps, no matter how hard she tried.
Because there's only one golden child.
There's only one. And that was not her fault. And that had a lot of like negative ripple effect on her. So, you know,
it's a good point to bring up.
Yeah. So if we can at all minimize creating those masks in our children, it's that much better for them.
Yeah. And, you know, and then remembering like the golden child mask, as you were talking, it's like, it's such a big umbrella of other masks. Perfectionist, people pleaser, all these
overachiever.
Things, you know, it's like, ooh, that one really casts a wide net.
It does. That's why I have all those under there. I have the victim, I have the people pleaser, I have all of those. So anyway, so are you complete with this one?
I am.
Okay.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. This was a great conversation. And as always, we do love and appreciate your support. If you enjoyed the content of this video, give us a like or a thumbs up. We would so appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.